suffering a similar cargo door failure.
Public confidence in the airplane was fairly low at this point, and a lot of people would not fly on that airplane. They would book another trip or book another airline to stay away from the airplane.
They say if it's a DC-10, put me on another flight.
I don't particularly like flying DC-10s, but, you know, it's the only flight we can take, so we take it.
Investigators desperately need to know how an engine fell off a plane carrying 271 people. They search the charred debris for the plane's flight recorders.
When you've got a plane that's as destroyed on impact as this plane was, the data from the recorders can be essential, because that really is your only source of information.
The team is able to recover both black boxes, but the recorders are heavily damaged. It will take time to analyze the data.
What you got?
The investigative team soon makes another discovery.
It's one of the bushing bolts. Split right in two.
It could prove to be crucial.
They found a bolt that had broken. And the question that was raised was, did this bolt break before the accident and cause it, or did it break as a result of the accident?
The left and right engines of the DC-10 are mounted to the wings through a rigging system known as the pylon. The bolt found on the runway is one of the few holding it in place. The badly damaged bolt was found closer to the start of the runway, suggesting that it may have been the first thing to come off the plane.
So what do you think?
The investigative team believe they have found the culprit.
This would explain it.
The NTSB is under enormous pressure to explain how an engine could simply fall off a widely used passenger jet. 2 days after the crash, they hold a news conference to announce that they found the cause, a broken bolt.
There's the bolt. There's a nut still attached to part of the bolt. This is the fracture point.
Well, I arrived at the scene of the investigation, and it was a press conference going on at that time, in which the vice chairman of the safety board was speaking, and he had just concluded.
Michael Marks is a metallurgist with the NTSB.
What did you guys say about the bolt?
We said this is it. This is why the engine came off.
He's an expert in fractures and failures of airplane parts.
It was related to me that he had indicated that a bolt that was found on the runway was involved in the engine separation.
Tell me you have more evidence than that.
When I visually looked at it, I could see nothing on the bolt that would indicate anything out of the ordinary. So all I could do is say this bolt didn't have any pre-existing cracking on it or have anything that would indicate that it had a weakness in the structure.
This thing broke when it hit the runway, not before.
So not exactly our smoking gun.
We need more information.
And to announce that you basically have some kind of cause for that engine separation without really looking at it, it was not a good idea to come out with this at that particular time. And so more caution was needed.
Okay, look, we've got to forget about the media and focus on the evidence.
It turned out that it didn't cause the accident, but going in, you don't know what is going to turn out to be important and what's just a red herring.
The confusion at the press conference only increases the pressure. There's no room for any more mistakes. For now, the team can only study the wreckage for clues. They hope there is enough of the plane left to help them make sense of what happened.
Hold on, let me see that. Okay, good. Anything from the main crash site goes over here. Anything from the runway, any engine or wing parts, goes to that side.
Well, my first priorities would be to look at the actual parts, the actual separation. Where is it that this thing broke?
This is definitely part of the pylon.
I've never seen one break like that.
The pylons are mounted under the wings. Each one is strong enough to suspend a 5,300 kilogram engine.
The pylon is designed very well. I mean, it's strength-wise, so it basically could take a lot of load, much more load than you would normally see in the course of the airplane life.
The pylon gets its strength from two internal bulkheads, one forward and one aft. These bulkheads also provide secure points of attachment, ensuring that the engines are firmly fixed to the wings.
It's also designed to have multiple load paths so that it's what they call fail-safe design.
It seems incredible that a pylon, one of the strongest parts of the plane, could have broken. Perhaps the fail-safe design is flawed. If so, it could be just a matter of time before another pylon breaks in mid-air.
Any idea what happened to it?
I need to see the rest of the pylon.
As some investigators search the wreckage near the airport for the rest of the broken pylon, others are finally able to listen to the cockpit voice recorder. It should reveal if the pilots had any indications of a problem as they were taking off.
Okay, go ahead.
American 191, thank you. Taxi and hold, runway 32 right. Flaps and slats to 10.
The taxi and takeoff roll are perfectly routine.
American 191 underway.
There is no indication the pilots were having any problems.
Okay, setting takeoff thrust. Here we go.
Sounds pretty routine so far.
D1, rotate. Damn.
Was that it?
One of the tricky things about this accident for investigators was that the nature of the damage was such that the cockpit voice recorder itself was rendered inoperable. So that was a big loss of clues.
The voice recorder was powered by the left engine.
Damn.
Once it fell off, the recording stopped.
Thanks.
About the last thing they heard on there was just damn. And that was the end of the recording. And that told them absolutely nothing.
They may never know what happened in the cockpit after the engine fell off. The flight data recorder is also nearly useless. Because of the extreme way the plane was flying, a lot of the data makes no sense.
This isn't gonna help us.
But at the hangar, there's been some progress. Investigators have recovered all the pieces of the pylon. Michael Marks may now be a step closer to figuring out why it broke apart.
Now I had an indication that maybe that this is the area that we really should be looking at. So in doing that, you needed to get more detailed inspections of it. You needed to get it to the laboratory back in Washington, D.C.
Investigators also examined the plane's history for anything that might relate to this catastrophic failure. John Golier spent 9 years as a senior maintenance expert for the NTSB.
Instantly, if we know we had an engine falling off, you're going to go right for the maintenance records. You're going to go right to the history of the airplane.
They had the engine out at the end of March.
8 weeks before the accident, the left engine was removed for servicing.
Anytime that you have an airplane that's been into maintenance just before a crash, that also raises all sorts of warning flags, all sorts.
Go down to Tulsa. See what they did.
If you have an investigation that involves maintenance, you don't go inside the hangar, you don't follow that trail, you're going to miss some issues.
Why the pylon broke is not the only question that needs to be answered.
Damn.
I've lost power to my side. Looks like we've lost number one.
2 of the DC-10's 3 engines kept working. The plane had the power it needed to keep climbing and then get back to the airport.
In fact, you could lose a second engine shortly after liftoff and you would still be able to power the aircraft around.
But somehow, experienced pilots weren't able to fly this plane after losing just 1 engine. With 273 people dead after an engine fell off a plane, the FAA makes a drastic decision. On June the 6th, 1979, the agency grounds every DC-10 in the United States. 138 planes in total.
Well, you can imagine if one of your real workhorse airplanes is grounded, disrupting flights, inconveniencing passengers, generating headlines. It's a terrible situation.
You spend $100 million for an airplane, you can't leave it sitting around very long. It's costing you a lot of money every day to have that airplane on the ground.
All foreign-based DC-10s are banned from entering US airspace. The pressure on investigators mounts as the effects of America's worst air disaster spread across the globe. Investigator Michael Marks believes the shattered pieces from the engine pylon may explain why Flight 191 fell from the sky.
Hey, look for yourself. See, that had to happen before the crash. Just don't know why.
When looking at the aft bulkhead in detail, there was one very puzzling thing.
A close examination reveals a crack in the metal that clearly developed slowly over time. It's a telltale sign that the pylon bulkhead was already damaged before the crash.
You can see where it's spread. All along there.
The crack that Michael Marks finds runs along the top edge of the aft bulkhead.
The cracks were consistent with a fatigue phenomenon or a cyclic behavior, a crack extending from repeated loads. Each time the load occurs, you then have an extension of the crack.
The microscopic examination gives Marks another clue: a dent on the pylon bulkhead at exactly the point where the crack began.
There was also a deformation that was on one of the fractures. At that time, was not absolutely sure what it all meant because it just showed a deformation.
Looks like something hit the pylon.
I'm just not sure what or when.
Okay, I'll see what I can find. Take notes on everything.
Got it.
The information is available. It's on the hangar floor. It's in the minds of those people. We just have to ferret it out.
Investigators arrange to watch as another DC-10 undergoes the same maintenance that was performed on Flight 191 just weeks before the crash.
Can you take me up and show me how the engine's mounted?
We're going to talk to the people involved. Most likely it's going to be the maintenance personnel, and we're going to ask them pointed questions. You know, on what have you done? Have you done this job before? What kind of problems did you encounter? Did you follow the paperwork to the letter religiously? Step 1, step 2, step 3. They found procedures that were not in the manual. They found procedures that the manufacturer didn't recommend be performed.
To save time, the airline has modified a key maintenance procedure.
A wing-mounted engine on a DC-10 is a 24-hour adventure, which is extremely long. So there's a lot of pressure on it getting whatever is broken repaired and getting the airplane back in the sky.
The normal procedure for servicing an engine involves removing it from the pylon and leaving the pylon attached to the wing. There are hundreds of connections to be undone.
Procedures from the manufacturer were deemed to be too time-consuming, and they could do it faster, better, cheaper, so they were deviating from the procedures.
The quicker way involves taking out just 3 bolts. The engine is removed from the wing while still attached to the pylon. It saves about 200 man-hours of labor.
It was easier. The attach points from the pylon to the wing were accessible. The attach points from the engine to the pylon were much more difficult to take apart and put back together. Removing's not the issue. It's the attempt to reinstall.
Whoa, stop!
Is where the problem comes from.
Left a bit. Now up!
Maneuvering the pylon into position with an engine attached to it is a tricky procedure.
Trying to put the engine and the pylon back together, some 13,000 pounds for the engine and 2,000 pounds for the pylon, was not easy.
They were using the forklift, and this forklift is not very manageable. It cannot be finely controlled as far as the altitude is concerned.
The minimum movement on the forklift was like something in the order of 1/4 of an inch. And we're talking about trying to fit something together that might be in the order of thousandths of an inch.
Whoa, stop, stop.
So you get just slightly the wrong angle, and you get too much pressure on it, and you're going to crack those fittings.
I'm sure they didn't realize that, how quickly they could get in trouble doing it the way they were doing it.
I think I know what happened.
A possible explanation surfaces
Take her down.
for the mysterious dent found on the pylon from Flight 191. The team in Tulsa calls Marks.
What do you got?
They describe how the maintenance crews struggled to fit the pylon attachment into the mounting bracket, or clevis.
And then it all came together, just like a bolt of lightning. The clevis itself had